Falcons at Saints is what we will start with. Falcons at Saints. This is an interesting spot. Matt Ryan expected to be back. This total opened at 51. It's still there, but there are 51.5s on the board. But notice Pinnacle sticking at 51. New Orleans opening up at minus 12. Now 13s and 13.5s. In my first instinct, with both teams coming off a bye, a divisional game, 13.5 points is too much, maybe. I don't want to back the Falcons, but God, this is a lot of points, and this is appealing to me. Both teams are capable of putting up points. So I like the over, and I like the Falcons. I think a backdoor cut. Now, obviously, you don't want to make a bet saying, oh, don't worry, I'll get a backdoor cover. I mean, that's a loser's mentality. But you'd have to think that the backdoor cover is in the cards, and the points will be coming fast and furious at this point. Donnie Rightside, Falcon Saints.
Yeah, we should get Matt Ryan back, so you should get a little bit of a boost on the offensive side of the ball. But even when they had their backup quarterback, Max Schaub, they still were able to move the football. The one thing that now you're going to run into is a little bit tougher defense. You know, it's rare that we talk about New Orleans, who should be able to move the football on offense, but they're actually a top 10 scoring defense, and they do a lot of things that you like. That offensive line that's usually really soft for the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to get a pretty good pass rush here coming out from the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees comes back to move the football efficiently. They should be able to name their number. You know, similarly, we talked about last night, for even though Dallas Cowboys really didn't play a really good football game complete, they end up with 37 points on the board. The only thing that bothers me here, because when we try to look at team totals, and you can make a lot of money with them if the time is right and the price is right, you know, the 23.5 to avoid 24, the 27.5 to avoid the 28. I'm looking right now out of New Jersey, Jimmy, early team total, 31.5 for the Saints. Do I think they can get there? You need a lot of things to go right, though, to be honest. I mean, you're talking about you're needing 35 points to cash that. Not like, hey, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, we're good. No, basically 5 touchdowns in this football game in order to cover that. That's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but I agree with you. I think the 13 points is a little bit too much in a divisional game. I think that back door possibly will be open later in the game. One of these games where I'm looking at early in the week trying to find and say, you know what, because typically Atlanta, New Orleans, what do we do, Jimmy? Just bet the over. Oh, my God, it's going to be a shootout here. But that's not the case anymore with that New Orleans defense. If I had to bet the game, I still would think it would be leaning towards an over. I just wish that Saints team total was a little bit lower than 31.5 because I would like to be involved in that one. I do think the Saints are going to name their number, but sometimes the price has to match up with what you want. You know, 28, hey, great, we all cash. You don't in this football game, and that makes it tough for me early in the week.
Very tough. The big guy, Bubba, great capper. Had the pleasure of partying with him in Miami with you as well,
Yep.
Donnie, which was definitely the highlight of the year, the highlight of my life, basically. At this point. Bubba says, cannot back the Falcons in any situation whatsoever. If the spread is too high for you, tease it down and let it ride with the Saints. Lean Saints, even on the high number. Team total over may be the best look for the Saints, but as Donnie said, that's a very high number. Antoine Seymour liking Saints first half. Tom Marino, the Saints will want to run a lot to keep Breeze healthy, shorten the game. I think the total is tough. I agree with that sentiment. Chris Brady says, I kind of like the Falcons plus all those points, divisional game. And Robert Weimer saying, how can you take the Falcons? Because that's what us Canadians call this Atlanta football team, the Falcons. Now, I've got it beaten out of me by my friends, but Rob Weimer says, how can you take the Falcons? Don't they still have the same coach like the blowout, but the over is a better look instead? Raphael says, Sean Payton off a bye, be very afraid. Sean Payton is a spectacular coach. There's no doubt about it. Fat Fist says, I love when the back door stays open. Okay, let's move on from that.